Could Stanford, Cal, and SMU be on their way to the ACC? Must discuss here on College Football Now by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones with the latest college football conference realignment news and rumors you need to know. Let's get started with MH version 3 on Twitter, the secret college football insider that's been all over what's gone on in realignment. Put out a tweet this afternoon saying, hearing ACC plans to meet tomorrow to once again discuss Calford, referring to Cal and Stanford. Expect there to be a push for a vote instead of a straw poll, as this is for all intents the final meeting on the matter. Meanwhile, John Wilner of the Pac-12 Hotline had this to say, my hunch is the next 24 hours will provide clarity on the ACC front, and that momentum is currently trending in favor of the Bears and Cardinal, but we shall see. So Wilner saying that things are pushing close to Cal and Stanford joining the ACC. Jim Williams of Forbes also had this to say on the situation, providing more context. Money is at the heart of the issue. Stanford is one of the nation's deepest endowments, while SMU has a strong booster pool that is ready and willing to financially support all of the aspects of the move. Additionally, the ACC's television contract with ESPN dictates that the network increases the value of the deal for each additional member, according to Yahoo Sports. If Stanford and SMU join, they can afford to forego those shares for a time, allowing other schools in the ACC to benefit monetarily. So, to put it simply, desperate times call for desperate measures. And what Stanford and Cal are looking at is they're saying, look, we can't be left behind in all this. We're not going to the Big Ten. We're not really interested in the Big 12. The ACC is pretty much our last hope, our last option at this juncture. And the ACC is saying, look, we'll bring you in, but we got our own members that are unhappy with Florida State, Clemson, Miami, and others with the revenue distribution situation. So what you might end up working out is a situation where Stanford, Cal, and SMU don't get the revenue that they bring to the league, that it ends up going to the other members in the hopes of keeping Florida State, Clemson, Miami, and others happy at this juncture. Now, how long can Stanford and SMU go without getting those revenues? How long is this going to last for? And then on Cal's end of things, this is a university that has the largest debt of any college athletic department in the country, in excess of $400 million. So maybe we see this move happen, but it doesn't mean that everybody's singing Kumbaya and everything's okay. A lot of moving parts and pieces. We'll explain more in a moment. But first, our pinned comment today. Will Stanford, Cal, and SMU join the ACC? Is that the end game here? Weigh in. Tell us what you think in the comment section. Y for yes, N for no. Will Stanford, Cal, and SMU join the Atlantic Coast Conference? Who would have thought? Let us know what you think in the comment section. Folks, we've been talking college football a whole lot more here on Chat Sports as of late. And if you want more college football content, whether it's conference realignment or if it's recruiting, the transfer portal, game previews, whatever it may be, with the season just around the corner, there's a challenge for you. If we can get 30 subscribers off of today's show, then we're going to bring you more college football content. Simple as that. It's up to you. If you guys want it, then prove it. Subscribe to the channel. Let's get 30 subs off today's video, and I promise you, we will bring you more college football content here on College Football Now by Chat Sports. It's up to you. You decide. You want it or not? Let us know. Subscribe now for free. YouTube.com/ChatSportsTV. We have reached a bizarre point in college football realignment where former President George W. Bush and former Secretary of State Condoleezza Rice are now involved in the ACC negotiations. Now, President Bush, his wife is an SMU alum. SMU is where his presidential library is. Meanwhile, Condoleezza Rice is a professor at Stanford, has deep ties to that university, and what the two of them are doing is they are advocating on behalf of their two schools to get in the ACC as a political term would be, they're lobbying for their two schools. Imagine that. Politicians lobbying, even if they are retired, it doesn't get past them. Still trying to make that push to get their teams to the ACC. And at this point, this might be the difference. It might come down to W and Condi getting these two schools in the Pac-12 with Cal Berkeley joining along the ride as well. More from Brett McMurphy, America's college football insider from Action Network. Condoleezza Rice with Stanford, George W. Bush with SMU are contacting ACC officials to lobby for those schools to get an ACC invite. Pat Forney first reported. No word if Marshawn Lynch is reaching out on Cal's behalf. Now, here's the thing. If the ACC does end up adding Stanford, Cal, and SMU, and it does generate more revenue for those said schools, it is a temporary solution for a long-term problem. Okay, maybe there's a bigger payout for Florida State and those other schools that keep them happy for now. But this contract goes till 2036. The granted rights, the ESPN TV deal, yes, it would generate more revenue for the ACC network and have a bigger pie to split up potentially. I understand all of that. But at the end of the day, Florida State and others know where the money's at. The money's in the Big Ten. It's in the SEC. It's not going to get that much better for these schools in the ACC. You put a Band-Aid on the situation right now, but you're still not stopping the inevitable here. Those schools are gone. They're going to leave at some point. Jason Shear, who covers Arizona for 24/7 Sports, had this to say. Sounds like we're going to get an ACC answer on Cal and Stanford in the next 24 hours. Also, there have been major discussions on leadership if those two aren't accepted in the ACC. It would be a surprise if George Kliavkoff is part of the next step, likely meaning that Kliavkoff is out as Pac-12 commissioner. Imagine that. You lose 8 schools? Yeah, you're probably not going to keep your job. How likely is it that Florida State leaves for the ACC as early as next year? They couldn't quite pull it off this go-round. Can they do it next offseason? Scale it for me in the comments section. What do you think? Is Florida State off to the SEC or the Big Ten? Weigh it for us in the comments section. Let me know what you think. Today's show is brought to you by BetUS, the exclusive sportsbook partner of Chat Sports. If you go to chatsports.com/bet, enter the promo code CHAT125, you too can get a 125% deposit bonus. Put $100 down, get $125 to spend for free. As much realignment talk as there's been out there, there's games to be played. The college football season starts next week, folks, week 0. Odds to win the national title. The back-to-back defending champion Georgia Bulldogs, the favorite at plus 225. Alabama at plus 600. Ohio State plus 700. Michigan at plus 900. Good value there on the Wolverines. LSU at plus 1,200. Get your bets in now on title odds as well as week 0 and week 1 betting lines at chatsports.com/bet. Enter that promo code CHAT125 for more. A couple more updates before we wrap up. Let's start out with this from Jim Williams of Forbes, making 3 key points. Stanford and Cal keep pushing the Big Ten and the ACC for an invite. Big Ten seems unlikely at this point. The ACC seems the more likely option. Future of the Pac, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16, whatever you want to call it, all depends on Stanford and Cal, what they do at this point in time. The American Athletic Conference and the Mountain West Conference, those schools are interested in a new Pac-12, but very cautious about making any moves, as the exit fee to leave the Mountain West is upwards of $30+ million. The American is up there $10+ million on that end. If I were to guess, if I were a betting man, which I am, here's what I would predict as of right now. I think Stanford, Cal, and SMU end up in the ACC for a reduced revenue share, if any revenue share at all. I think SMU, the ACC might take that offer of, you know what, we're not going to pay you. You're welcome to be here, but we're not going to pay you. Cal, Stanford, maybe they get a little bit of piece of the pie or nothing at all, but I think that they're in the ACC, but not for that full revenue share. No way about it. Oregon State and Washington State, I'm sorry, but nobody wants you. Nobody loves you. It's okay. The Mountain West will gladly take you. It's going to cost you a lot of money, and a lot of prestige, but it's the truth of the matter, and that's just it. And you're not probably going to get to play Oregon and Washington anymore. Those are the ones I feel sorry for. When you talk about the West Coast elites and the establishment in the Pac-12, I don't feel bad for some of those folks. I do feel bad for Oregon State and Washington State fans because they don't deserve the way they've been treated throughout this process, and they're in game here. One more from Matt Norlander of CBS Sports, saying, can't confirm a report from Pat Forty. The 4 schools firmly against expanding the ACC with invites to Cal and Stanford are North Carolina State, Florida State, and Clemson, sources told CBS Sports. Per sources, a couple of other schools may be soft yeses as not to rock the boat. So you need one of those schools to convince to allow those other members in at this point. We'll see if they can sweeten the pot and get them more of that revenue share. We mentioned Oregon State and Washington State. Doesn't look good for them. I think they're going to the Mountain West. Where do you guys think they are ultimately going to go? Weigh in. Tell us what you think in the comments section, what the end game is for those 2 schools. For more college football coverage, follow me on social media at Tyler Jones Live on all social media platforms. And I'll see you next time here on College Football Now.